MG, or Morris Garages to be technical, is a British-born car brand but since moved production overseas. Although this change of home has received some frowning faces, MG are really starting to make a comeback and looking to take the EV market by storm, as their newest release is nothing short of sensational. This is the all-new MG4, 100% electric hatchback, which is quite unique and, let's be frank, very fascinating to look at, with prices of this model starting from £26,000 and the top spec being around the £31,000 mark. This EV is sure going to give car manufacturers a headache because finally we have a very affordable electric vehicle which does not lack in performance. Which we'll get into later on in the video, but first drop in the comments your first impressions of the MG4. Do you like it? Do you like design? Let me know in the comments down below. But first let's talk about the design of the MG4, and I'll tell you my first impressions in one word: wow. I mean, just look at the design of the front of this car. Look at how many intricate details, so many lines that go across, so many dips. I mean, you've got a nice sort of U shape in the bonnet. The LED headlights go right down into this sort of point that all go into this front facing grille. You know, even down to these carbon fiber effects down here. You've got some air vents, which I don't really think do much. I think they're just gaps, but they look amazing. Now, if you do think about it and break it down, it almost looks like a Lamborghini's gone on a cheeseburger diet and got a bit beefy. You know what I mean? Like it's like a stretch Lamborghini Aventador front end. Or is that a bit of a stretch? The point I'm trying to make is I think this is a stunning looking car, very unique, very fascinating to look at. You know, this is an electric vehicle, it's £26,000. Personally, I think MG have smashed it out of the park with the design of this car. I mean, just look at the front of this car. How can you not enjoy it? Coming to the back then of the MG4, and again, I really like the design. I mean, there does appear to be a bit of a shelf on the end of this car, which would be perfect for a mid-journey pit stop, but let's get serious. That's probably smashed, but let's get serious now. The design of this car, I think, amazing. Now, I love this nice spoiler effect. You know, top spec does actually come with a twin aero spoiler here, which I do think adds to the design, but without it, still looks really good. You know, although I jokingly said this looks like a bit of a shelf, I do think it's a really nice design, and I just think really accentuates the rear lights, because give you a bit of a light show. Look how nice they look. You know, you have your indicators down here and this really big rear light that goes right round. Very cool design. Now, if we come into the boot space, bit of a diva moment. It's not automatic boot, which is a bit of a letdown. However, it's not exactly the hardest thing in the world. Coming to the boot space then, you have a 366 litre boot space, which it doesn't really blow you away. It's not really impressive, but it does the job and does the job very well. Also like to mention, it does come with its very own charging cable bag that is MG branded, so you can carry this about and brag to everyone you've got an MG4. Let's go. Coming into the interior of the MG4 then, and first thing I'd like to mention is once you get in, chuck your key down there. You don't need it. There is no ignition, there's no stop button. It powers on once it knows the keys in, which I do think is a nice touch. One thing that draws my attention though is the steering wheel. I mean, it's very much in your face. It's quite a sort of a chunky steering wheel that has a really nice shape to it. You know, it's sort of rounded off. It's almost like a hexagon, but nice and smooth. I love the little detail in here. Very much in your face. The next thing I notice is your driver's display, because let's be honest, it does look quite small. I mean, there's tablets and probably even mobile phones nowadays on the market that are the same size as this. It is very compact. However, obviously because the car's on, because you just get in, everything boots up, you can somewhat see everything really clearly. Coming over to your 10.25 inch, and don't forget the 0.25 infotainment system, which again, like your driver's display, is very compact but has everything very accessible. So obviously you've got your home button here to get back, and you have a couple of climate controls and your volumes here, but a lot of it is done on a screen. You know, it's very minimal, simplistic, the interior of this car, but all the while still very effective and doesn't take away from that driving experience. So you've got Apple Play and Android Auto, which come as standard. Overall then, the interior does what it needs to, you know, and it still feels premium. You have an infotainment system which has everything you need on. Your driving display, although it's small, still clearly reads everything. You know, your center console over your driving controls are all very compact in this system here. You know, a lot of cars and a lot of EVs will have a big center console, which might have a gear shifter here, you know, automatic handbrake. So ultimately, you lose all this storage. You know, you've got a big drawer here, 2 cup holders. You've also got USB-C ports under here. You've also got a little net in here as well as storage here. So the only downside I will say is the seats. I mean, this is the standard edition, so you know, Trophy has maybe slightly nicer seats, but although it has nice detailing, you know, it's not just a plain seat. It has like different shapes, curves. It also got a nice blue stitching which runs right across. I do think it would sort of benefit if maybe the sides were leather, or it had like a leather strip going through the middle. That might add to it a bit more. But again, this is a £26,000 electric vehicle, brand new. So there has going to be spaces where there's going to be, you know, a few cutbacks. So really, that's just me being picky. Overall then, the interior is nice, it's comfy, it's spacious, has everything you want and more. Good job, MG. Coming to the back seats then, and do you know what? It does what it needs to. You know, I've a lot of legroom here. I've also got a lot of headroom as well. Although it is, you know, very simple, it does what it says in the tin, I do like that it's still very uniform with the rest of the car. You know, there's a lot of cars out in the market which somewhat just throw the back seats in, give it a bit of legroom, I think everyone will be happy. But I do like the fact that it's still very uniform, you know, the styling of the seats. It still has this nice blue stitching, which is also seen on your door cards here. It's also got decent storage. You know, you've got one in your door and one right down here. It's also got a USB port down here, which, you know, are quite a few cars that are a lot more money than this on the market, which don't have rear USB ports. So yes, there's only one, so if you have two kids, you might be fighting a bit, but at least you've got one. It's also got a little bit of storage here, but ultimately the legroom is very comfy. But ultimately you can't complain. It's comfy, it's spacious, you've got USB, you've got decent storage. What else do you need than the rear seats? Now, one of the main reasons why you might want to buy yourself an electric vehicle is to obviously save yourself money. But ultimately, you don't want to be buying an electric vehicle and taking so much of your time and effort charging it up. Now, you won't necessarily do that with the MG4. You won't waste much time charging because you can get from 10% to 80% in as little as 35 minutes. But that's obviously using a public fast charger, which is 150 kilowatts. But that charging time only rises to round about the hour mark if you use a 50 kilowatt battery charger. Or if you use a 7 kilowatt, which is your usual sort of home charger, you can charge it overnight. So you get home, plug it in, overnight it will be fully charged. But once charging out on the road, how does it drive? Well, the MG4 sure is fun to drive. In terms of acceleration, I mean, the 0 to 60 time recorded is 7.5 seconds on the SE and 7.7 seconds on the Trophy. To me, it just feels so much quicker. So, for example, I'm pulling out to a very busy road here, but if I was in a normal car or in my own car, I'd be a bit worried and have to really rag it, whereas this, it's almost instant. Like, you don't even need to really try and like time it perfectly. You just put your foot down and it goes. Like, it is very good acceleration. Top speed of 100 miles per hour, which you might think 100 miles per hour for an EV is quite slow as a top speed. But realistically, when you ever going to be getting 100 miles per hour? One thing I will say about the MG4 is I love the fact there is no sort of ignition, no start-stop button. The fact that you can just sit in, hold the brake and press drive in your way. Just, honestly, it just feels so fun. It feels like you're driving a big go-kart. I think it just adds to that whole experience of driving this car. You know, I've got a feeling that this car will be a lot of people's first time EV car, and why not? It's an affordable electric vehicle that drives and performs like any other electric vehicle on the market. All right, you know, you might think your high-end EVs might give you a bit more oomph, might give you a bit more technology. But if you want to dabble into EVs, then to me, this seems like the perfect option. It's low price, it's really easy to use, it's a no-brainer for me. So I'm driving right now on quite a bumpy road, like this is, you know, a bad stretch of roads near me. And it just feels so smooth. Like, obviously, you know, the car's going up and down, but there's no big bangs, you know, I'm not bouncing around everywhere. It does feel really smooth. So even though the charge time on the MG4 is very good, you know, it is quite a short recharge time. Ultimately, you don't want to be recharging all the time. You want to have a good electric range. And the MG4 can bring you that because there are two battery size options. You have a 51 kilowatt per hour and a 64 kilowatt per hour. Go for the smaller option, the 51 kilowatt. That comes with an electric range of up to 218 miles, with the 64 kilowatt per hour going with an electric range of 281. Now that is up there with some of the sort of best electric ranges on the market currently. So that is very impressive. So if you opt for the 51 kilowatt per hour, that's 218 miles. Realistically, unless you're obviously you're a big commuter and you will want more, if you are choosing it to get to and from work, you're going to be saving so much more money because the 51 kilowatt per hour MG4 is the model that comes at around £26,000. So if you go for that option, you're going to have a very low cost car with very low running costs. It's such a money saver. Your wallet is going to be thanking you if you opt for that. Talk about driving safety feature then, you know, it has adaptive cruise control, it has lane departure warning and lane departure assist. The only model that does have blind spot monitoring is the top spec, which I find slightly weird because usually blind spot monitoring might be like a sort of come a standard, and adaptive cruise control would be sort of the one in the premium higher end specs. The MG4 also comes with the MG Pilot driver system, which is an array of driving safety features including hill start assist, pedestrian and bicycle warning system, adaptive cruise control, lane keep and lane departure warning, and traffic jam assist. Although the infotainment system is quite easy to use, once you get the hang of it, you know, it's very straightforward. But ultimately when it comes to your climate controls, it would be nice if you just have dials. That somewhat seems a little bit easier, although it is really clear, and I do like the display they have, you know, showing which zones are sort of active. I do like that. Sometimes dials and buttons are just a bit easier. So I could bore you with all driving stats, you know, talk about how much torque, how much power, talk about how the electric motor works, this, that and the other. Ultimately, the point of the matter is the MG4 is a really fun car to drive, really easy car to drive. It's so driver convenient, so many safety features. Your infotainment system is really easy to use. Overall, it's just a really, really good system, which doesn't break the bank. So then there you have it, the MG4, a 100% electric hatchback, which could possibly be the most value for money EV on the market. You know, this car starts from just £26,000. For a brand new EV is excellent value for money. You know, with an electric range of up to 281 miles, 0 to 60 in 7.5 seconds, and all the driving safety features and infotainment that you get in any other EV on the market. Could the MG4 be the EV to get this year?